welcoming. I just want to reiterate that this is being recorded. And sorry. So yeah, feel free to have your cameras off, but like I said, they're probably already turned off because it's a webinar. So this is the demonstration for how to find and access data using the ISSDA Dataverse. My name is Jade. I'm the new member of the ISSDA team, and my role in ISSDA relates to outreach activities. So let's start. So this session is mostly dedicated to the demonstration for finding and accessing the data, but I will provide a really brief introduction about ISSDA and the Dataverse, just in case there's anybody who is new to ISSDA. I won't be taking questions throughout, but I'll try to have time for questions at the end. Okay, so let's start off. So ISSDA is an acronym for the Irish Social Science Data Archive. It's a member of the Consortium of European Social Science Archives, also known as CESSDA, and it's Ireland's national service provider since 2021. As such, it has a mission to ensure access to quantitative data sets in the social sciences and to advance the promotion of international comparative studies of the Irish economy and Irish society. So this has been around for 25 years this year. It started in UCD in the Geary Institute. It's now in UCD Library, and its work is supported and also funded by Research Ireland. Next slide. Okay. ISSDA aims to accomplish its mission by being the central access point for quantitative Irish social science data, by providing wider access for the data that's available, by facilitating the use of this data for secondary analysis, and by serving its designated community overall. Its designated community are the higher education institutes and the research performing organisations. There's a lot of data available on ISSDA. A lot of it's anonymised. There's different types like longitudinal and cross-sectional studies. So some of the studies include Growing Up in Ireland and Tilda. There's also data from the Central Statistics Office relating to Irish society, Irish economy and Irish environment. Some examples of the CSO data are the Labour Force Survey and the European Union Survey on income and living conditions. There's a lot of health data and sports data, and there's some other major projects like Planet Youth and some individual studies like the Cupid COVID-19 survey. So if you are considering using data from ISSDA, you will need to adhere to the terms of use. A lot of the data is restricted, so you'll be asked to sign the end user license and agree to these terms. So these terms are simply, if you request data, you need to provide the details of the project that you want to use it for. And if you want to use the same data for another project, you'll have to submit a new request. Data has to be deleted before the project expiry, or else you'll have to request an extension. The lead end user is responsible for control and access to the data. Using the online generative AI data tools is not permitted. You need to ensure that access to the data is kept secure. If you're using the data in your publications, let us know about the publication because they keep a track of them in their Zotero library. Also, if you're using the data, do make sure that you cite the data and acknowledge ISSDA as well. And very importantly, do not try to attempt to re-identify individuals in the data set. Okay, so if you've been wondering what's the Dataverse, a simple-ish way that I tried to describe it is that it's the platform that's used by data repositories so that they can share, preserve, cite, and explore research data. It's open source and it was created by Harvard University. It enables repositories to make their data sets more discoverable and more accessible online, and therefore improves the fairness of the data. Dataverse is actually used by some of CESSDA's other service provider, and Dataverse does refer to the platform, but it also refers to how the data sets and the files are grouped together. You can have a Dataverse related to, say, the CSO. You can have one related to Growing Up in Ireland project. You can also have sub-dataverses where there are dataverses within the Dataverse. And another way of thinking about this is having a sub-collection within a collection. But this will be easier to see when I'm going through the demonstration. And click. Okay, there we go. So since the adoption of the Dataverse platform by ISSDA, discoverability and accessibility of ISSDA data has improved and it's become much more fair. This is because of a lot of the features that the Dataverse provides for ISSDA. So some of those features include the persistent identifier. We can now provide a DOI. There's the searchable, discoverable interface. There's plenty of metadata available for searching. Is to use the CESSDA metadata model, which is based off of the DDI. This has also allowed the ISSDA data to be discoverable in the CESSDA catalogue. There's the availability of different formats. The reuse license are clearly stated. There's plenty of documentation available for users, and that grouping by the Dataverse collection just kind of makes browsing a little bit more user friendly. Okay, so that was my very, very quick introduction to ISSDA. And if you're interested in knowing more about ISSDA in general, there is a recorded website. There's a recorded webinar, on the ISSDA YouTube page, which has some good details, but I want to try and just get into the demonstration. The Dataverse launched the summer of this year, and most of the data has been uploaded and is searchable, but just like a kind of mini disclosure, it's still new and there's some features that are still waiting to be updated. But I'm just going to go through everything that we can use on Dataverse today. So I'm going to switch screens on me, I think. Okay, great. Okay. So this is the Dataverse homepage. And the first thing that I want to show you before I start the finding is how you create your account. So if you want to create your account, you have to go to the login page. And when you're in the login page, you need to click in through your institutional account. So you can search for your institution using this list. Or if you don't want to do that, you can switch and type in your institution. And that will come up. So you can click here. If you can't find your institution within this list, you can create a local account. If you come down to our sign up for a Dataverse account, and click in here. So you can just fill in all your details, make your password, but just make sure when it comes to your email that you're using your institution's email address. Read through the terms of service and the privacy notice. Once you're happy, you can tick the box, then tick on create an account. So after this, you should be sent an email from ISSDA asking you to verify your account. So just go through the verification steps, and then your account should be set up. Just maybe check your spam as well if you've sent it in and you haven't got an email in like a day or two. So I am going to log in. So I go back to the login page, click on UCD, and you probably have to go through your institution's two-factor authentication or whatever is relevant to you. It should let me in. Right. So I got let in because I was in earlier on this morning, but sometimes it takes a while to get in. So it's brought me to my account page, but I haven't uploaded any data sets or Dataverses, so that's why my page is empty here. And I'm going to go back to our homepage. So I just want to talk you through the homepage first of all. This little button is the best button for bringing you back to the homepage. As you go searching through the Dataverses, you'll see that this will change to let you know where you're within a Dataverse. So it will change the search functions that you have available. The longer name here is actually a link to ISSDA's website. And another useful feature is the user guide, which is the user guide available on ISSDA's website. So I just want to point out these boxes here. These are examples of the data sets of some of the bigger depositors in ISSDA. And I want to show you what I meant by a Dataverse within a Dataverse within a Dataverse. I'm going to use the CSO as an example. So if I click into the CSO, I'm in the CSO Dataverse, and I can see that there are some other projects in here that are actually Dataverses as well. I can click within EU Silk, and now I'm in EU Silk within the CSO within ISSDA. I can go back step by step as well if I want to just go back by CSO and then go into the household budget, for example. Or I can go back to the main page by clicking on the ISSDA button. So next, the default view when you're on the home page shows you the different levels that you can browse and search through. So default is Dataverses and data sets. I want to see the files as well. So we have over 1,300 results. And another thing I want to point out, which I found useful, is these icons. So the group of pages means that it's a data set. An individual page means it's a file. And scrolling down, these kind of orange data points that are connected means it's a Dataverse. And just a bit more information on the data files. So you can see that the files kind of have like little different details. The one that has something that looks like a text file, it is a text file, it's documentation. The one that looks like a table, it is tabular data. And finally, just notice these red locks. If there's a red lock, that means the file is restricted, and no lock means that the file is not restricted. So I have all my levels clicked here, and you can see on our left-hand side, we have different filters that we can use when we're browsing to narrow our browsing search. It's the Dataverse category, publication, the license, the author name, subject, keyword term, series name, topic classification term, funding information, distribution date, file type, file tag, and the level of access. So I'm going to go back up. And I just want to show you as well that these filters are different depending on the level. So if I only wanted to look through the Dataverses, I actually only have 3 filters available. If I want to look through the data sets, I have different filters and a lot more filters available. And some of the good filters, such as the keyword term and topic classifications, they're good for narrowing your search. This also applies to the files. If I'm in the file level search, I can see the filters related to files such as the file type, file tag, and the access level. So another thing to be aware of, you can search using the search bar up here or the search bar down here, but they're slightly different. So the search bar on the top of the page beside the user guide has a comment on it saying search all the Dataverses. So that means even if you're within a Dataverse within a Dataverse and use this search bar, you're going to search all the Dataverses. But if you use this search bar, which is just above the filters, you're going to search within the Dataverse that you happen to be in at that time. So just be aware of that. You will see whether you're in a Dataverse, but sometimes if you're busy searching, you might not realize. And then I'm just going to show you very quickly, this search feature uses the Boolean operators. So just be aware that if you don't capitalize your Boolean operator, you're going to get back a lot more results and a lot less accuracy in your search. Versus if you do. So you can see we just have 3 results here. So the next thing for searching, so now we're going to go into the advanced search. So again, you can search through the different levels, and I just want to pull all these up so that we can see. You can search through the Dataverses, or you can search through the data sets, and you can search through the data sets via the citation, geospatial, or social science and humanities metadata. or you could search through at file level. So if we're going into the Dataverse search, if you know the name of your Dataverse, you can put it in here. And this will bring back a few different results. I'm going to show you an example. So I'm going to mostly refer to growing up in Ireland just for simplicity. Ireland, you can use enter to return your results. So this will bring back everything that has grown up in Ireland, but it also brings back the word Ireland, because I know that there's only 3 grown up in Ireland dataverses. You can scroll down and you can see eventually, I think it's on this page. Yeah, so Euro Student Ireland is going to come back in your search, but not to worry. Sorry to scroll so quick. I just want to go back to the first page. You have the option to sort by relevance, and you have the option to sort by alphabetical. Then you can also use the filters on the side of the page, and you can see that one of the filters is the series name. You can look for Grown Up in Ireland specifically. So I'm going to make sure that I'm on my home page to do my advanced search. This is actually really good. The identifier, if you knew that your project had an alias or an alternative identifier, this will bring you back a very specific result. So I know Grown Up in Ireland is also called GUI, and this brings me back the Grown Up in Ireland Dataverse, which I can click into, and I can see I'm in Grown Up in Ireland, and there's more Grown Up in Ireland sub-dataverses. Just want to make sure I go back to my main page. You can search through the description, but the description would bring you back a very broad search result, a lot more than the 3 dataverses that we were looking for originally. Oh, it brings back 3. That's actually really good. Sometimes when you're searching through the description, it might bring you back more of the dataverses, but again, you can just check through the filters. If you want to, you can use the subjects, but there's only 2 subjects for ISSDA Dataverse, and that is social sciences and other in the Dataverse. I'm going to put this up. So next we're going to go into some of the metadata searches. So if you knew the title of your data set, you can put that in here, or the author name or affiliation. You can also use keyword terms and topic classification terms, and these are quite handy if you didn't know the name of the project. But Grown Up in Ireland is related to children, so if I wanted to just see if there was any data about children in general, this brings me back the 27 data sets. And again, I can scroll down and I can see the filters, Grown Up in Ireland, and I get the data sets related to Grown Up in Ireland. Another thing to actually just be aware of when you're going back and forth between the searches, if you want to do a new search, make sure that your old search isn't still there. Sometimes you get 0 results. And something else that I want to show you, actually should have shown you there a minute ago, but I'm going to show you topic classification again, should return the data sets. And I just want to point out, you can see that this box is actually a lot bigger than the boxes on the browsing page. It's because it's returning the metadata that I searched. So topic classification children is here. And it would have been the same for the keyword term. So another of the handy searches is the publication identifier. So if you've been reading through a publication and they're referencing a data set and they've told you that the data set is in ISSDA, you can then search with the DOI. So I'm actually just copying the DOI that I have from a tilde publication, and I'm going to paste it in to show you. When I search, it returns the data sets that are linked to that publication. and we can see that the metadata there, the related publication citation, the name, the date, etc., and the DOI that I typed in. You can also continue to search through the metadata citation for funding information if you knew the funder. You can also search for time period, the data types, so that could be if it's a survey, the series name, like Growing Up in Ireland, where I was using that as the filter. And then the publication year at the minute just has the data was deposited into ISSDA, so everything is coming back up as 2025, but this is one of the features that will be fixed going forward, or if you knew the persistent identifier, you could search for it this way. So another way that you can search for data on ISSDA is related to the geospatial metadata. I know that we have data that was carried out in Connacht. So I'm just going to show you that if I put Connacht into provenance and search, I get my results: Planet Youth Survey, Galway, Mayo, and Roscommon. So if you know the location, you can use that as your search function. And again, just want to make sure that I've nothing hiding in my search. So some more metadata, we can search through the social science and humanities metadata. So some examples for this could be the unit of analysis. If you knew that it was individual unit of analysis, you can search for that here. And if you knew the population, also called the universe here on the Dataverse, you could put that in. So for example, I know that 9-year-olds are in the Growing Up in Ireland. So I want to see if that would be returned. Okay, I have pressed enter. So sometimes it's a little bit slow, so you can just refresh the page. And I'm still just on the ISSDA page. Try again. Yeah, there we go. So H3 data sets. And again, you can see the metadata returns the universe, people who are 9 years old. And that's Growing Up in Ireland. And there's also some other projects related to childhood, and they have in their universe carried out among children aged 9 years. I'll see that again. Yeah, and the time methods, you could search for whether it's the longitudinal study, for example, there. I also want to show you that you can search through the file levels. So you can, if you knew the name of the file, you can search for here. You could search more broadly through the description field. Then you can search through the file type, so that can tell you whether it's a document or a tabular data. If you want to know the file format, all the files have been tagged. So if you're looking for the comma separated value or the SPSS, for example, you can search in here. And another fairly handy feature, if you're searching through for tabular data, you can search for the variable names in the tab data. So if I wanted to just search for age, if I was trying to do a study and age was important, I search here, and you can see that the metadata that comes back tells me that there's a variable name of age within this data set particularly. And again, then I can filter via the file filters. So that's all of the searching that I'm going to do today. But now I'm going to talk to you about what you can do if you want to access data. So it's good practice to read through the documentation and see whether the variables that you need are available and whether cleaning procedure and the anonymization is going to suit you before you access the data. So I'm just going to go into Growing Up in Ireland and show you how you can download the documentation to have a read through it. I'm just going to click on the first one here. So when you come onto the dataset page, you can see the dataset because it has the dataset icon, gives you the description, and you can see the subject and some of the metadata here. There's more metadata if you click onto the metadata tab, which is here. But I want to see the files because I want to check the documentation. So at the minute, it's giving me all of the files, but I just want to see what documentation is available. So I have to scroll back down, and I can go over to the access file and click here and click on the download documentation. So even though this is available to download because it is tagged to like a restricted file, we also have to just click the accept the terms and conditions. So in the pop-up window that came up there, these are the terms for the documentation, just that the documentation remains the copyright of the creator, and that we need to click accept in the pop-up window to download the file. So when I click accept, that downloads and it opens up automatically. So I'm going to read through all of this documentation and decide that this is the data set for me. Close. I now want to go back to the data files, and I just want this one. So I don't know if you've seen it there, but when you tick on the file that you want, the request access button is no longer grayed out. So if I click here, another pop-up window comes up. My information is available because I logged in my institution. And I just have to read through the terms of use, the citation requirements, the terms of access. But when I read through the terms of use, just to show you quickly, it states that I also need to fill in the request form. There's a different request form for the research purposes or for the teaching purposes. And I'm just going to click on the research purposes. This file downloads. I'm not going to go through the form entirely, but basically when you're filling out the form, just make sure that you fill everything in, give the description of your project and give the names of everybody who's going to have access to the project, and make sure all the signatures are there. This includes sometimes the supervisor and maybe sometimes the heads of the department. So when you've filled in your form, you need to email it to ISSDA at their email address, which is isda@ucd.ie. And then you can click on the request access button as well. So ISSDA will get your request and they will process it, and they'll send you an email when you have been granted access to the dataset. So you'll get an email from ISSDA, and again, I'll just say check your spam. But another way that you can check if you've been granted the access is in your Dataverse account. There's actually a notifications feature, and when you get a notification from ISSDA, be like a little icon letting you know that there's a notification there. So when you have access to the data, you're going to use this button. So you can see that this one is still restricted. So I'm just going to go into one of the data sets that I know I can download. And I click here and I click on this data. This is their open data set. Just going to scroll down. And I want this file. And when you click here, you can download it in the original file format, which happens to be the CSV here. You can download it in tab delimited and or data. This might depend on what the file was uploaded. If a comma separated value file wasn't uploaded, then that won't be an option. But there are many tab delimited options because it's a feature of the Dataverse. And so that's really everything when it comes to finding and accessing the data. And I just want to show you that when you have access to the data, I have a screenshot and hopefully this changes now. So you'll be able to see like a green lock instead of a red lock, and it's actually opened as well. So just a nice visual clue that you now have access to the data set. And the final thing that I think I want to show you, which I think would just be nice, is the CESSDA catalogue, which is in as well. I'm just going to navigate my way in through the ISSDA Dataverse and just kind of point out that ISSDA, or sorry, the ISSDA website, just point out that the website was revamped this year as well, and it's nice and shiny. It's a good resource to get information on how to access data, training, the policies and the forms, and some frequently asked questions. If I scroll down, I'm a bit more familiar with this data set. I know where I want to go. We have some links related to ISSDA. So we have our YouTube there. We have some of our socials, the Zotero library, and we have the CESSDA catalog. So I'm going to do a search. I think if I search growing up in Ireland. Yeah. So straight away, growing up in Ireland comes up. So we can see that here. But we can also do a more general search, say children. And then we can go into the publisher. I know that there's the ISSDA one, and click on it here. Just give it a minute. And I know that I've seen it before. Just by the title and scroll down. Keep scrolling. I'm looking for Grown Up in Ireland specifically. Yeah. So there we go again. So there's a few different ways that our ISSDA data is discoverable now. So just going to check. I'm pretty sure that is everything that I wanted to show you today. So thank you very much for listening. I'm actually just going to maybe stop the recording. Just bear with me for a second. Till I find it. So I'm going to stop the recording, and if anybody